Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here at the Body Lock. And joining me today is none other than Brandon Royval, a successful UFC debutant. Brandon, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. And yourself, man?
I'm doing great, man. Lots of Criminal Minds, lots of Call of Duty Warzone because it is still quarantine for the most part. What about you? Have you been doing anything fun? Besides competing in the UFC?
Just training and working. Nothing too fun. Did you? Where were you at? What state are you in?
I'm in Florida.
Okay, you guys aren't super opened up in Florida. I thought you guys were done with it.
It's pretty opened up, but just staying in whenever possible.
Precautious.
You get it. So I want to start at the beginning of your UFC story, which is, of course, that call where you get told that you have been signed to the UFC. Where were you and who told you? How did you react when you found out that you were getting that call to the big show?
I was laying in my bed, actually. It was like probably mid-afternoon. Trying to get some sleep. And my manager called me up. He FaceTimed me, and as soon as he FaceTimed me, I already knew. I was like, "This is the UFC call right here." Like, because he's like known for FaceTiming anytime big news is there. So I pretty much instantly knew. I was like, "This is the call to the UFC right here. Let's see." And just immediate shock, excitement, and then I just had to get a lot of stuff done. It was a week and a half notice, so I just had a lot to do right in between then. So just had to go and bust my ass a little bit,
Right, and you were 10-4 at the time, lots of submissions on your record, the champion over in Legacy Fighting Alliance, LFA. When you got signed to the UFC, did that kind of represent the culmination of all that hard work, or was that more of the you knew your time was coming and it finally did?
A little bit, man. A little bit of like I knew my time was coming, but I still was never like thinking I was ever going to get the call, man. I don't know, man. A little bit of probably way too much of a pessimistic. I probably need to improve that a little bit, but it always just seems too good to be true when something's going to happen. Even like on the way to the arena, I was like, this isn't going to go down. Something's going to happen. Something's going to like stop it. And like, it almost just always seems like it was too good to be true. And I knew I was on the brink. And I knew I was doing all the right stuff. And I knew LFA, winning the LFA belt is the best way to kind of come up as a flyweight, especially because there's not any other big, like Bellator doesn't have flyweights, World Series of Fighting doesn't have flyweights. As far as flyweights go, the biggest promotion is LFA, in my opinion.
Right, and of course you mentioned that there was some doubt when you were even as far as on your way to the arena that something might not happen. Was that something related to the pandemic? Did you have any fears there that the event might not go on or you might not be able to compete in that regard?
I think it's a little something that always goes on through my head that I'm like, it's not going to go down. It always goes down. But I always have it in my head, like, even like when I get the name of the fight or like my last fight, I had a lot of like opponents pull out and the whole entire time I was like, it's not even going to happen. Like I was staying training and staying focused, of course. But like in my head, I was being a little doubtful. And even like I was like, I'm making my UFC debut. I'm driving to this arena. Some dude's driving me and I'm making my UFC debut. And, it all just seemed like too good to be true a little bit, even after winning, it just seemed too good to be true. Like, I don't know, right now it seems too good to be true. I'm so happy I'm here and I'm so happy that I have an opportunity to show what I can do and showcase my skills in the highest level. And that I'm even considered to be one of the highest level fighters, man. I'm so happy. This sport is something that I love and I'm very passionate about. And I'm just so happy to be here, man. And I can't wait to show you guys what I can do,
Absolutely. And you definitely showed people what you could do in your UFC debut, short notice against Tim Elliott. Now, that's an unbelievable test for a UFC debutant. Tim Elliott's a very tough guy, came up through the Ultimate Fighter, fought for the title against Demetrius Johnson, and had moments in that fight where he looked like he might be able to become the champion. So as someone who was just signed to the UFC, an LFA champion in your own right, 10-4, multiple submissions in a row, did you feel like that Tim Elliott fight was too much too soon? Or was that for you just evidence of the UFC believing in your abilities?
I think it was more lucky timing and the COVID more than anything, honestly, to be completely honest. But I think the timing for me is perfect. I was getting ready for a fight the whole entire time, and I was getting ready to fight at the UFC Apex Center. So the timing for me couldn't be any more perfect because I'm very much at the point in that camp, and like the fight was supposed to be June 23rd. And I was very much like turning it up in the camp, like already ready to go. And like I was running my own camp. So I think they like when I work with like a performance coach and a strength and conditioning coach, because of COVID, everything was locked down. And my coach, I couldn't work with my coach as much as I normally would. And all that situation, everything's locked down a little bit, that I control the own pace of my things, where as Factory X, we have it a little bit down to a science. You know what I'm saying? We have it down to like you peak this week, you lay off this week, and you're turning it up all in between then. I didn't have a coach tell me to lay off anything, man. So I was pretty much just turning it up, ramping it up, and working with a couple of my other teammates that were doing all the same thing. And it always just turns into a little bit of competition. Like, oh, did you hit your run today? Oh, you're going to let COVID be excuse, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So it always kind of turns to a little bit of a competition. And that being said, is like no different. We're hitting hill sprints, all the stuff, and we're doing our strength conditioning program that was put on through like online classes and stuff like that, and done through the course of like all online kind of stuff. But that being said, we're doing a lot of our own things, and we're doing like a little bit of like our own training camp. And in that point, it kind of just turns into a pissing competition with your friends, you know? So I'm glad that I could go out there and like at that time, man, it was a great time for me. Cause like I said, I was turning it up and like, I don't know, just having a good time training and getting ready for this other fight. And I was already ready to fight at the Apex Center. So everything just seemed like it worked out perfectly for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were planning for, I believe, a Contender Series bout, Dana White's Contender Series at the Apex later in the summer. Obviously, because of that, you were ready. And from the way that you're describing it, it sounds like your camp was not very much impacted by COVID-19 or some of the restrictions from the pandemic. Did you feel going into the fight with Elliott that you were fully trained, fully prepared, and coming off a good camp? Or was that something that you felt a little bit reserved about?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was like a good camp, but I knew that me and him had a little bit of the same like problems. I knew he was on quarantine down in Vegas too. And I knew he didn't have any advantage of me when it came down to the camp specifically. But also it was just like, it was pretty cool to run my own camp, man. Like it was kind of cool, like doing all that stuff on my own and seeing how much I could push myself. And I don't know, I felt like I had a huge advantage in every single way when it came into that. And just like mind state wise and just getting ready for a fight and having like I said, the COVID wasn't like we didn't let it be an excuse to any of us. Like at least a couple, like a handful of my teammates that wanted to fight. Chris Gutierrez being one of them, who was fought on that card. Chris Gutierrez and I, where are we training at today? Are we going here? Are we meeting here? Where are we going at park? Worst comes to worst, we're gonna go ride our bikes up a mountain, whatever it came down to. We were getting it in, and I think both our performance showed that we weren't lacking any cardio necessarily. Like I think Chris didn't lack anything, but at least for me, like lacking cardio was not an issue out there. We got a lot less grappling in because it wasn't as much of an option to us. We got a lot of our training done through a boxing gym and like stuff like that, like a place where we weren't able to grapple. So I don't know, it was a good experience, man.
Well, I can promise you that no one watching that fight was under the impression that you weren't training your grappling. Your grappling looks superb, as it often does. You won that fight by submission in the later rounds. Can you talk a little bit about how you approached that fight stylistically and whether or not it went according to plan?
It definitely didn't go according to plan, man. I felt like I wasn't able to get anything off really. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't able to go out there and like control range, pop off some shots, pick him apart a little bit, and then look for the kill. I felt like instantly it was his fight. You know what I'm saying? Like it was the pace that he wanted to be. I think ideally as a fighter and as a person that like as a competitor, you want to control everything you can, especially like in a chaotic situation. If I can control the pace of the fight, if I can control if we're working hard when I want to work hard and we're slowing down when I want to slow down and control the whole entire pace of the fight, it's a lot easier for me because, like I said, I'm in control. That's like another little weird thing that I can control, and it'll put me in a little ease my state of mind a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like he was in control of the pace the whole entire time. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't able to kind of slow it down at all. And fighting in a tiny cage and his style and all that wasn't really doing me justice or a favor anyways. You back up a certain amount and you're against the cage, and I couldn't like circle around or anything. Not letting that be an excuse or anything. A lot of it was just what he does, man. He just stays in your face, and that's his style, and it's hard. It's a hard fighting style. It's a hard fighting style to deal with too, man.
It's very weird to hear that kind of an answer because as an interviewer, the way that you phrased that and the way that you answered that, if I didn't know that you had won, it might have made me feel as if you had lost. Are you always this hard on yourself when you get a submission victory that earns you a performance bonus?
I don't know, man. I feel like the performance bonus was like a very kind gesture from Dana White, and I feel like I'm the only one really happy about their payroll in the UFC right now. I'm super stoked about everything, and I was like, dang, Dana hooked your brother up for that one. And like, I don't know. I felt like he just did me a favor on that one, and I owe him big, man. I'll fucking put on a brawl my next fight, and I want to ask for shit. maybe. But I don't know, man. Like I just felt like that was him being a cool person. I feel like I touched on heartstrings a little too much, and I didn't necessarily want that. I was more disappointed in my performance than anything. I wasn't trying to like make a gain out of it. I'm glad it worked out. I won't complain at all, but it was more just like I was really disappointed in my performance. And that being said, is because what Tim Elliott was doing is he controlled the pace right off the bat. He had me against the cage. I think he was shooting on me probably like I was probably say 10 times at least the first round. You know, like shot in on me. And like I said, it was his pace, man. And that's one less thing out of my control. And as a fighter and as someone that wants to be great in what he does, man, is I want to control the pace. I want to control every aspect of it. I want him to be thinking the whole entire time, and I want him to be uncomfortable in the cage the whole entire time. And like I said, I didn't feel that way until the end of that fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And you mentioned your post-fight interview. Now, that was definitely something that got the attention of a lot of fans. It was a very candid and raw, and I know nickname Raw Dog, so that's a little pun, but it was a very raw interview in which you kind of opened up and showed people a side of fighters that they might not otherwise see, which is, I have work tomorrow. I have to go to my day job. This is a great fight for me, and I'm not happy with my performance, even though I won. So it showed just how much of a perfectionist you are in that regard. But did you end up going to work that next day?
Great question. No, I did not go to work the next day. I called off. But like, in all fairness, like I was injured. I get what is it, adrenaline? Like when I have an adrenaline dump, I get really sick off that too. So like, I don't think I was really up to go to work anyways that day or that night. I took the fight on very short notice. I was only able to get a certain amount of days off, and they're really being generous about all that stuff. Man, I can't appreciate that job anymore. Yeah, I didn't go to work that day, man. And as far as the speech goes, man, I just felt like, I don't know, man. That's how I felt at the moment. You know, I felt like I didn't do a good job, and I still feel like I could have did better. And I felt like I went to that goddamn. If you watch any interview before the fight, I went there with 50K on my mind. I went there saying I'm gonna go put on a fucking performance. I'm gonna go either try to take performance of the night, try to put on a clinic on this dude, or if that's not the case, then I'm gonna go put on a fucking fight of my life and then make $50,000. And as soon as that fight ended, I just felt like that wasn't enough to do that, and I was disappointed in myself. And like I said, man, I want to make this a full-time job. I want to make this my life, and now I have the opportunity to, by the way. So I quit my job, which is great. But I wanted to make it a full-time job. I want to make this my life, and I didn't want any excuse or half-assing this job at all. And I knew Tim Elliott was a great opponent to do that against, man. A very accomplished, very exciting flyweight, brings out a high pace. Like I said, I guess we got the job done, but I feel like it was a little bit more of a nice gesture than anything, honestly.
Right. And you mentioned that you did end up leaving that job, and now you are essentially a full-time UFC fighter. Can you talk a little bit about that job and how secure you must feel in the UFC to where you can leave that job and now move to full-time fighting?
So I think as far as me, as I'm a play it safe kind of person, as far as like not fighting, of course, but just playing it safe kind of person. So I don't think necessarily security is like, I feel safe about it or anything. I got a cool sponsor, EAP Glass, man. They're helping me out majorly with this. So I got a cool sponsor that are helping me out with a lot of things and make me feel a lot safer about the decision I made. But I think immediately I was clinching on for a safety rope right off the bat. And I was like, I made this money. I could quit my job potentially, but I was like, let's see if they'll let me go part-time. So I talked to him and I asked for a very unrealistic part-time job for him. I knew it wasn't going to work out. And maybe I needed it to not work out, because the moment they're like, I don't think we could do that for you. And I was like, you know what? I think that I'm being a sissy about this thing and might as well invest in myself and invest in this career. Finally, man, I've thought about it a million times. I've saved up a lot of money and I've made a lot of right financial decisions to put myself in a situation where I can take this serious full time. But that check and all that stuff, man, it helps out a lot. And I'm, like I said, I went there with trying to grab on a safety net, and in the middle of it, I'm like, what kind of sissy am I right now? Like, why am I like playing it safe in every aspect of life? I've been granted this like fucking gift from Dana White, because like I said, I don't necessarily feel like I deserve it. I feel like I pulled on the heartstrings a little bit, and I didn't mean to do that. But since it worked out, man, like who would I be to not take it to the fullest, man, and take advantage of it and make the most of it. And like I said, invest in myself, man. That's important. Any important businessman will tell you right now, the most important investment you can make is in yourself, man. And if I want to treat this as a business or an aspect or something that I love or something that I want to get better at, man, is invest in it to the fullest. And I have an opportunity to, like, for me to not be as afraid as I've ever been. Like, I've always been afraid to do it. And this is an opportunity, man. If worst comes to worst, man, I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm a great striker. I can teach classes. I can teach private lessons. And if the worst comes to worst, I can use this as my job. I have a degree in this thing pretty much. You know, I've been doing this 10 years, 6 days a week. I've been doing it 12 years, 6 days a week. I have a degree in the sport. Like, I can use it to the fullest, you know?
Right. And now I remember in a previous interview, you were speaking about how you had to balance full-time work and full-time fighting and the kind of difficulties that present themselves when you're trying to do those two things. Can you walk through what a day in the life for Brandon Royval was like while you were working?
Here, I'll tell you this, just because today was my last day, so I'm finally done with work. Today was my last day, which I'm so grateful for, and I'm so grateful for that job too. I don't want to act like it was a miserable job. It was a great job. So today I went to work at 10:15 last night. I trained all day yesterday too. I got off work 10:15 at night. I pissed for USADA at 8:15 a.m. is right when I got out of work. So I pissed for USADA, got to the gym at 9:30. And then trained till 12 o'clock. Got home, and normally I probably sleep for 2 hours, but since my last day, I don't really care about sleeping right now. So it's just took a couple of interviews, and now I'm getting ready to go to practice in the next hour and a half. So, like I said, get some food. But like I said, I was doing that same thing except for sleeping those 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? And trying to maintain a proper diet and maintain the proper fight lifestyle as a professional fighter at the highest level. You know what I'm saying? So. This is something that I can do. Like, I can recover. I can take my sleep serious, man, all that stuff, man. So it's a great opportunity. And having that job was a great opportunity for me to be like, I don't know, have a cool job that, like, not only made me feel better as a person, but like met the financial needs I had. But now I have this. And like I said, I feel like I was just, I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent, but I feel like I'm just grateful for this, man. It's awesome.
I love tangents. Let's go off on another one. We've talked so much about this job. Can you tell everyone what you were doing, where you were doing it, and what that kind of work was like for you?
Yeah, so I worked at Lookout Mountain Youth Center, and it's a long-term facility for juveniles, and these house up to like maybe 15 to 16-year-olds, all the way up to 20 years old, right before their 21st birthday. So I have a job it's hard, man. Like, I think, so I'll give you an example. Yesterday I walked in at 10:15 a.m. I don't know exactly, or 10:15 p.m. I don't know exactly what was the lead up to it at the time. So I walked in and some kids screaming and calling a lady I work with. And the people I work with are amazing too. They're angels. Turned to her and called her a bitch. And I'm like, hey, like, whoa, why are we doing that? And then he turned to me and he called me a bitch. And like, obviously, like, that's a fucking trigger word for me, man. Like, I like tend to lose my shit. If somebody called me a bitch on the streets, it's not going to like go down as smooth as it went down. But it's challenged me as a person. Is he called me a bitch, and I'm like, all right, well, like, one, like, why am I a bitch? Like, let's clear that up first and foremost. But like, two, like what's wrong, man? Like, what's going on? Like, how are we going to see past this? And that, like, you're living in this moment right now, but like, how's this going to affect the next moment, today or tomorrow? You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it's a job where it's challenging, and like, I feel like in a normal situation, it's making me a better person. A normal situation, or maybe like when I was younger and before I had this job, someone called me a bitch for fighting. You know, like, that's someone calls me a bitch. It's like, what's wrong with this person? You know, like, what's going on with this person that can kind of. So I don't know. Like, I'm working with juveniles who probably went through a lot of trauma in their life. They're made some mistakes, or living with a lot of regret at the current situation that they're in right now. And I work with some of the fucking, I don't know, I feel like it. I work with kids that have so much potential, man. And I don't know, I'm super sad to leave that place, but I can't have my cake and eat it too. You know what I'm saying? I want to dream. And I think every single one of those kids understood exactly how hard I've been working and what I sacrificed and why I would leave that place specifically. But yeah, I work with amazing staff, amazing people who go through hell, man. The kids aren't the easiest to deal with, man, especially a long-term facility, man. Those kids are doing years, you know, like they're not in there for ditching school or truancy or anything like that. Shoplifting. They're in there for some serious crimes. they're doing some serious years, and they're living with some serious burden and some serious regret, and it probably even led up to stuff before that where they had a hard life, man. Maybe even this jail is the most consistent and safest place that they have in their life. And I don't know, I work with staff members that they handle it to the most professional level, man. And it's cool to be around all that, man. It's cool to be around kids that, I don't know, you can inspire them. It was really cool to tell them that I made it to the UFC. And when I walked in, because I walked in the next day at 10 o'clock, and all of them were like cheering and all that stuff. And like, they're all like surprised to see me. Like, I didn't think you're going to come back. Like, I didn't think you're going to come back. And like, why didn't you tell us where you're going, kind of thing. Because I found out a couple of days, and I just shut my mouth because I don't want to get my ass kicked and then have to hear it from some 17-year-old, like, you're a pussy, you know, like, so I kind of shut my mouth. But I don't know, man, it was really cool. And like I said, they were like sitting there like, hey, I want to join a gym when I get out of there. And like, I don't know if they're going to stick to it, but I just want them, like, you get to see a kid that is athletic enough to accomplish these dreams, and it's not out of sight for them, and it's not out of sight to do whatever they want to do. They're smart. Like, there's so much talent in there, man. It's a weird job, because you see some talent in there, and you see some kids that don't necessarily believe in themselves and don't see a life outside of jail as a young kid at 16 or 17. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I was really sad to say goodbye to them, man. And I'm so happy that they were a part of my life, and that the staff that I worked with are a part of my life, because there's a lot to learn from them. And I really hope that I can either, one, succeed in the UFC and make enough money to be comfortable and didn't always go back to that job, or succeed in the UFC and come back as like a mentor. And that's an option. I can come back and just give my time as a mentor. And I think that's be a big difference too, is some of those kids are going to be there for the next few years. Like, if I do well and I'm able to come back, or even if I do shitty and I come back, like I'll be able to kind of see them and like just see where they've gone. And if I can come back as a mentor and as someone that has succeeded in their dream, man, like why couldn't they, you know? So I don't know. It's a cool job, man. It's a great job.
Yeah, it sounds like a really admirable story, and definitely seems like it'd be something that's very rewarding for you. So thank you for what you're doing there. And I'm absolutely certain that you could go back tomorrow and be seen as a mentor, someone who's doing what they want, doing what they love, and, you know, taking that plunge, making the jump and doing it full time. So that's a really interesting story. And thank you very much for sharing that. I just have one final question for you, Brandon, before I let you go. I know multiple interviews, I'm sure training, and I'm sure you would like to get some sleep. So I'll let you go after this one.
I'm riding the high of that. I can't believe my job is over now, man. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No problem. No problem. Now, with the win over Elliott, a big name, someone who's been there, done that, you're immediately thrust into the top 15, currently ranked 11th, I believe, the last time I checked. I believe it might have been 12th earlier, but I think 11th now. You're ranked 11th in the UFC with just one UFC win. The sky is the limit. The potential is through the roof. Who would you like to fight next, and how quickly would you like to get back in there?
I want to get back in there. Like I said, I want to make some big improvements, and I think I have to do a little bit more minor adjustments and big improvements. Honestly, I know the stuff. I know I need to work on, and I know where I went wrong in my last fight. So I want to make some adjustments before the next fight for sure. But I do want a quick turnaround. And I don't know, as far as me going to like battling some of the top 10, the UFC, I'm still on my first contract, so I'm making 10-10 right now. I don't want to fight a top 10 opponent for $20,000. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to at least build my name up, build my worth, gain a fan base. And like I said, I don't plan on leaving soon, man. I've worked hard to be here. I earned my spot at this table, and I finally can sit down and eat with the best of them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited to show that I belong. And I don't know, I'm mixed up with all of it too, because I also just want to take on number 9 or 8 and just like work my way up. You know what I'm saying? And the flyweight's such an interesting division. I don't think there is anybody that's standing out of the flyweight division as a king or someone that's going to rule for a while, and especially now Henry Cejudo's gone. I think the fucking title's up for grabs, man, and I think I could take 2 fights, and potentially if I have the opportunity to fight someone ranked higher than me and be in title contention by next year even, you know what I'm saying? So it's an interesting case in the flyweight division, and I want to be smart about it, but I also want to fucking show out, you know what I'm saying? I want to show that I've been this level. I belong here. I've been to the skill level of some of these guys, and like I said, I'm home, man. I'm here to stay, you know?
Absolutely. Brandon, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too, brother. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Peace.